you'll probably get tired of me saying this today, Jerry, but it depends on your state. Or it depends, I should say, as our top lawyer answer to everything, right? It depends. But it really does depend on your state. And, being that we work across the country, we kind of see it all. I think to take a step back, what people forget or don't realize, is that IVs contain drugs, right? They are concoctions of different drugs, and so therefore it is the practice of medicine. I think that right there gets like, to a lay person, they don't necessarily think of going to get an IV if they're dehydrated as like the practice of medicine, but it truly is. So right there, we know with healthcare regulations that puts things into a different bucket, right? It's not like therapy. I mean, truly, it's a medical procedure. And so that affects who can do it, where it can be done, the setting, who can own that business that it's, where it's being done. So a lot of those considerations come into play. And it's all over the board from there. So in Texas, for example, a very strict corporate practice of medicine state. And for those who don't know, corporate practice of medicine, or CPOM, or if I say CPOM quickly, that's corporate practice of medicine. Essentially that's a state where a physician has to own a medical practice. Like a lay person can't own a medical practice. A corporation is not supposed to own a medical practice. Now, of course, corporations could be owned, it could be a PC or a PLLC, which is owned by a physician. That's allowed. But generally, when we talk about a CPOM state, a physician has to own, or in an independent practice state, they're called, you can have a nurse practitioner who may be able to own, their own practice. So essentially, though, you're pretty limited in who can own a practice. And so again, we're saying that administering these IVs is a practice of medicine. So you've gotten to be, and if you're in a CPOM state, again, California is a very strict CPOM state, Texas, like I talked about. These are places where even to get that IV, the person who owns that business has to be a physician, or maybe a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant in certain circumstances. But Texas is funny, super strict CPOM state. You have to be a physician to own this thing. But oh, by the way, if the regulation is actually such that anyone can inject, and can do an injection for like a neurotoxin or something, as long as the physician believes they're properly trained, like the overseeing person. So it's just wacky, right? You have a very strict state, but yet anyone can inject. In other states, there's very, very heavy regulations on, who can inject a neurotoxin. So when it comes to IV hydration, like, we have to look at all of this. We have to look at who can own the business. Are we in a CPOM state or are we not? But at the end of the day, again, like, what regulators look at is like, this is the practice of medicine. And right now there's probably a shortage. There definitely is a shortage of resources to enforce this stuff. So you've got a lot of folks who are doing things non-compliant and kind of getting away with it. But I think that as IV hydration continues to like be the center and the focus of this, growing sector of med spas and procedures, like, we're going to see states cracking down. We're actually already seeing it in a number of states. So really, short answer or a long-winded answer, but to answer the question is, it really depends on the state. And, we have to look at what the medical boards say and the nursing boards to really decipher like who can do it and, what kind of setting.